Dr. Muralidhar Sharma sir, STMCA would be to take over the session. Welcome to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, the next is the अथातो अन्नपान विधिम अध्यायं व्याख्यास्यामः यथोवाच भगवान् धन्वन्तरिः धन्वन्तरिम् अभिवाद्य सुश्रुत उवाच प्रागभीतः प्राणिनां पुनर्मूलम् आहारो बलवर्णवोजसां च स षट्सु रसेषु आयत्तः रसाः पुनः द्रव्याश्रयिणः द्रव्यरसगुणवीर्यविपाकनिमित्ते च क्षयवृद्धिदोषाणां साम्यं च ब्रह्मादेरपि लोकस्य आहारः स्थिति उत्पत्तिविनाशहेतुः आहारादेव अभिवृद्धिः बलम् आरोग्यं वर्णेन्द्रियप्रसादश्च तथा हि आहारवैषम्याद् अस्वास्थ्यं तस्य अशीतपीतलीढखादितस्य नानाद्रव्यात्मकस्य अनेकविधविकल्पस्य अनेकविधप्रभावस्य पृथक् पृथक् द्रव्यरसगुणवीर्यविपाककर्माणि इच्छामि ज्ञातुं न हि अनवबुद्धस्वभावाः भिषजः स्वस्थानुवृत्तिं रोगनिग्रहणं च कर्तुं समर्थाः आहार आयत्ताश्च सर्वप्राणिनो यस्मात् तस्मात् अन्नपानविधिम् उपदिशते भगवान् इत्युक्तः प्रोवाच भगवान्. Now, in the regarding the food, Sushruta asks the teacher Dhanvantari that the food is the most important part of the life and it's necessary, absolutely necessary for the strength and the virility of a person, of a human being, and the taste is depending upon the dravya, the rasa, and dravya rasa guna vipaka. All of them, they are absolutely necessary for the maintenance of the proper balance of the dosha. Food is necessary even for the gods. Brahmadi Rapilokasya Ahara. That's the important thing. And Ahara Deva Abhivuddhi Balam. Food is absolutely necessary for the growth of the body as well as growth of the intellectual capacities. And the ahara itself, food itself is the cause for the health as well as the disease. Food could be in the form of ashita, pita, lidha, khadita. Ashita is something that you eat, or pita, something liquid which is just taken in. Lidha is something liquid, khadita is a bitten, harder substance. So these different varieties of the food. And the most important statement of Sushila is अनवबुद्ध स्वभावाः विषयः सुस्थानुवृत्तिं लोकनिग्रहणं च कर्तुं समर्थाः. If you do not know the real impact of the food over the body, you are not really fit to be the physicians. Now, in a criticism rather, just casual criticism over the current medical system. In the current medical system, medical students are not supposed to study the dietetics. Dietetics is a paramedical study. But from Ayurvedic point of view, an Ayurvedic physician should be aware of the importance of the food or impact of the food over the body, and the impact of the food being responsible for the health and the disease is a very identity, a critical identity of Ayurvedic practice. So anyway, that's the importance as such. Then Dhanvantari says, Atha kalvotsa Sushruta, yatha prasna mutyamana upadharayasva. Then Dhanvantari starts teaching about it. Food as such in Indian tradition from Vedic period, the food is given lots of importance, and in Taittiriya Upanishadam there is a very important statement: Ahamannam, 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 Aham Annadehe, Aham Annadoho, Aham Annadaha. The Atma, the who is the Taittiriya Upanishad starts with the identity of what is that human being, who is it. There are many questions and answers, and quite important is the most important part of the identity of a person is the anna, the food as such, and the food itself would be responsible for all the activities, not simply the the physical activity, intellectual activity, as well as maybe the divine capacities, divine probabilities also are depending upon the food. All your qualities also are depending upon the food. Whatever you eat, the same is reflected in your activities, both intellectual as well as physical. In Sahasranama, Vishnu Sahasranama, food is considered to be equivalent to the God. In among the different names of the Vishnu, the absolute God, they are two important, Anna and Annadayavacha. the anna, the food, as well as the person who consumed anna, the human being, both of them are equivalent to God, or both of them are synonyms of the God. So this is a very high level of thinking and very classical identity of Indian philosophy. It's not only about the Vedic literature, even among the yoga, the different koshas, which are the basic issues of the yoga, the first and foremost of the kosha starts with the Annamaya kosha. Annamaya kosha is the basic which covers whole of the body, and it's responsible for all the others. If this Annamaya kosha is not there, then there would be no such physical activity, that life would not there. And hence, the statement is annam nanindyat tadvrutam pranohi va annam shariram annadam prane shariram pratisthidam. The body is depending upon the prana, and the prana itself is anna, the food. So that's how the whole approach to the food is considered. So consumption of the food is not simply a physical need. There is something beyond physical need. It has all the divine these relationships, and hence the perception of the food from Ayurvedic perception, or from the Indian philosophy perception, is totally different from what is seen in the Western side. In the Western side, the food is considered as a source of calorie and nutrition. That's all. Only the physical relationship of the food is described, whereas from Ayurvedic point of view, there is something more than that. The physical, the intellectual, and whatever we consider celestial relationship of the food also is important. In Chanaka, the description of the Anna, importance of the Anna is again the same. Pranaha pranabhutam annam annam loko abhijavati varnaha prasadaha sausaryam jivitam pratibha sukam tustihi pustihi balam metha savam anne pratishthitam लौकिकं कर्म यद्वृत्तौ स्वर्गतौ यच्च वैदिकं कर्म अपवर्गे यच्चोक्तं तचापि अन्ये प्रतिष्ठितं. The same whatever I have described is summarized in Charaka Samhita as a लौकिकं कर्म यद्वृत्तौ. It's the activities which you do in this world, as well as Swargatau Yetchavedikam. After the death, even the, whatever is supposed to be in the heaven, those who believe in that heaven, it's also and Vaidikam, the relationship with the Vaidika properties, or what the divine activities. Karma apavarge, even after the death, whatever the impact on your body after the death, all these are related to the food. So food is not simply a physical need, that's all. In summary, from Ayurvedic point of view or Indian philosophy point of view, food is not simply a physical need to satisfy your hunger. It has some celestial issue, divine issue, and it's an you have to look at the food with that divine perception. That's the identity. That's all the important thing. Now in Charaka, the food in general has been classified very briefly as Shukadhanya, Shamidhanya, Mamsa, Shaka, Palashraya. The sources of the food could be Shukadhanya, the monocotyledon seeds, or what we call as shali, shamidhanya, that's dicotyledon as such, mansa, non-vegetarian food, shaka, the vegetables as such, phala, fruits as such, or harita madhya ambu gorasa ikshu vikarikan. It could be like green leaves or alcoholic beverages, water, gorasa, the products of cow, the milk as such, ikshu vikarikan. These are considered Dashan Docha Aparavargo. These 12 are considered as an Annahara Yoginam sources of the food as such. Rasa Virya Vipaka Ishta Prabha Vishta Protection. The description is about the Rasa Virya Vipaka. Sushruta, it starts with the description of the Shali. Shali is the monocotyledon seeds, very briefly related to the rice. Now, equivalent, the Sanskrit meaning of the word Shali could be both the ways. Shali is a general term for all the monocotyledon seeds, as well as it's also a specific name for the rice and rice varieties. Now, in this context, it's about the rice. लोहितशाली कलम कर्दमक पाण्डुक सुगंधक शकुनाहृत पुष्पांडक पुंडरीक महाशाली शीतभीरु शीतभीरुक रौद्रपुष्पक दीर्घशूक कांचनक महिष, महाशूक, हायनक, दूषक, महादूषक प्रभृतयः शालयः. The varieties of the rice, now this is a very significant issue which is often generally not perceived in general, is the varieties of the rice cultivated in that period. Now, of course, in Shabdakalpa Druma, you have a very basic classification of the shali into two. The Ropita shali and Aropita shali. Ropita shali is cultivated shali and Aropita is a wild grown shali, rice. So wild grown rice also is used in that period. Then the varieties are again cultivated. Now the varieties of these rice based upon their physical appearance or the genetic properties, they are of different varieties. Sushruta mentions about these 18 varieties of the rice in this context, whereas in the Nighantus, you get 64 varieties of the rice. That's wonderful. That's unbelievable with the current idea of biology. And in general, all the rices are Madhuraha, Virata, Shitaha, Lagupakaha, Balavaha, Pittagna, Alpani, Anilakapaha, Snigdaha, Buddha, Alpavarchasaha. In general, they are Madhura Virya, Shita Guna, Laghu Paka, Laghu, Balavaha, they enhance the strength, reduce the pitta, and Alpa Anilakapaha doesn't slightly affect the Kapha and Vata, Snigdhaha. Now, what are those varieties? What is Lohitashali and so on? Dhalana gives you the description. Lohitashali, Raktashali. Rice with the red color is the Raktashali. Kalamaha Andarvedyam Klavihi iti loke. Kalama is having some core, this color, if you cut that rice, within you will find a harder core, that's the kalama. And Kardamaka is iti Shatishay Panke Nishpadyate iti Kardamakaha. The rice grown in muddy areas, where you have lots of mud in the field where there is lots of mud, that's the Kardamaka. And Panduka is the Pandutusha. Panduka is where the outer skin of the rice would be, or hay of the rice would be whitish in color. And Sugandhaka Devshalihi Panchalehe. The Sugandhaka is considered as Devshali, which is having fine smell, which gives a pleasant smell. शकुनाहृतः उत्तरपुरः सकाशात् हंसैः आनीतः. Shakunartha is a variety of the rice which is favorite for the birds, and the birds they just pluck that rice and then they may spill over, and which is picked up. So birds have selected ripened rice. Now, that's birds have an extraordinary capacity of selecting the right sort of the food, and they will pluck only the mature or fully grown rice, and that rice which is partially plucked by the birds is the Shakunahata. Avantyam Nagariyam Teva Vakra Namna Prasiddha. Then there is a Vakra which is very commonly used in Avanti area. Avanti area is somewhere in the your Odisha area, that eastern part of the country. Magadha is a Bihar and other area. It's a Pashaka, it's called as a Pashaka. Pushpani wa Sugundani, Sukumarani, Andani, Tandulani. Yes, they are Pushpandaka. Pushpandaka is where there will be pleasant smell like that of the flower. The rice would having a pleasant smell, and the rice are delicate. The seeds are delicate. Pundarikam Shwetapadmam Tatsadrisha, where the rice would have a color of Pundarika, lotus, white lotus as such. Then Saukumari Varna Saurabhedya, Sapundariko Devagraha Deva Bhuposhanama, the other description of the Pundarika variety. Mahatandulaka Mahasharihi, Mahatandulaka where the rice seed is quite big in size, as such. Then Shita Vibheti wa Shita Bhirukaha. The rice which doesn't grow in cold environment is the Shita Bhirukaha. Then Rodra Pushpakaraha Shukaha Yasya Rodra Pushpakaha, where the seeds of the rice have a appearance of Rodra Pushpa, very pointed. That's the Rodra Pushpakaha. Dirgaha Shukaha is Sahdirva Shukaha. Then the seeds of the rice are quite long, they are Dirghashukaha. Kanchanaka Swarnashali, it's golden yellow color rice is Kanchanaka. Mahishashukaha Madhyadeshe Tilavasi is Prasiddha. In Madhya Pradesh area, in the middle of the country, it's named as Tilavasi. That's Mahishashukaha. Hayanakaha Shunguakaha iti Shalayah. Hayanaka is also named as Shunguaka in some areas. Then, or some there at that time they used to also call it as Ghotampucha also. Dushaka Mahadushako Lokad Avagantavyo. Dushaka and Mahadushaka in that time of Dalana it was very popular, so there is no description further about the details about that. Prabhuti Grahanaka Avaka Naishadhayagaya, the other varieties, there are many more varieties which are not mentioned in the Samhita, like Avaka, Naishada, Shastika, etc. प्रायेण गर्भपाकाः षष्टिकाः इत्यन्ये षष्टिकशाली इस् शालयः इति अखण्डितशुक्लाः हैमन्ताः इति देर् आर् मेनि अदर् वेरैटीस् लैक् अखण्डितशुक्ल हैमन्त नैषध आल् देट् वेरैटीस् आफ् द रैस् आर् यूस्ड् एण्ड् अत्र लोहितशाल्यादयः तेषु तेषु देशेषु तैः ते नामभिः प्रसिद्धाः. The names of the varieties of the rice could be varying from area to area. Some areas the name would be something different as such. एकमेव द्रव्यं नानादेशेषु नानाशब्दैः अभिधीयते. यथा बहवो अन्नं भुक्तम् आहुः दक्षिणाद्यस्तु क्रूरम् इति दक्षिणात्येषु भक्तसंज्ञया एव प्रसिद्धः तदितरेषु पुनः क्रूरसंज्ञा इति. Now, this what Dalana gives is that culture of different names for the same item in different areas and different languages is a common phenomenon, and even in that period it was a common phenomenon. But still, there was a uniform identity of these varieties and the assessment of the physical properties of these substances uniformly. तस्मात् शूखशमी कुधान्यानि नाना देश कृषि वलेभ्य ज्ञेयानि. And hence a better knowledge of these rice varieties or maybe all other seed varieties have to be collected from the local sources. You have to approach the local sources and get the importance. Similarly, Mrugastu Nana Deshiya Vyadhebhya, if at all you want to know more about the animals, the flesh sources of the food in the form of flesh, you will have to contact the Vyadhas or the hunters of that area. Shakunikebhya Pakshinah, the bird watchers, they are the sources for giving you the proper knowledge of the birds. Kandamula Palashibhya Vanacharebhya, those who want to have knowledge about the roots and the roots of plants which are used as then you have to get the information from Vanacharebhya. People who are living in forest, they are the better source there. And Mrugastu Nana Desh, Kandamula Palashibhya Vanacharebhya, Vanachara Tapasribhya, Kandamula Palani, Shakani to Gramya Aranyavasibhya. About the vegetables, you'll have to get the opinion of the people who live in the villages. Katanani Sudebhya, about the prepared food, you have to approach the cook. Professional cooks. Professional cooks can give you a better idea about how to prepare the food. Basic Dravyani Punah Pravyani Vanibhya, the medicinal plants and the value of the medicinal plants, they could be information can be taken by the merchants. Then Akrayani Punah Mulagini Tapas Vanacharabhya, the unknown roots, their value or their importance could be got by the people who live in forest areas. All that important is varieties of the food and the practice of preparing the food varies from area to area, and that local culture or local method is important. That's all the summary. Now, in the present day situation, in India, of course, India is considered to be the major source of the rice, and the varieties of the rice which are available, they are collected already. You can get many sources of these varieties which are used now, and their qualities are mentioned. I don't try to equate any of these to whatever mentioned is in social samhita, but there is a good scope for research about these. Whether these varieties they have the same properties of the varieties mentioned in samhitas. Of course, if you can refer to the Plant Authority, the website where the different varieties of the plant sources in India they are accumulated and you get the collective data. So those who are interested in this in the present day situation and their properties, like whatever that food, which is different forms of food, including rice, you can get all the information of available information about the different sources of the these cultivated food. I'm saying cultivated food items. It could be fruits, vegetables, and the seeds, and so on. The different varieties and many of their physical properties, the sources. There is a collective source of information. So those who are interested in studying more of these issues, they may refer to this site. Now we'll continue further from Sushruda's point of view. तेषां लोहितकः श्रेष्ठः दोषज्ञः शुक्रमूत्रलः चक्षुष्यो वर्णबलकृत स्वर्यो हृद्यः तृषापः व्रण्यः ज्वरहरश्चैव सर्वदोषविशापहः. In Sushruta, that Raktashali, the Lohitaka, is considered as the Shrestha, the most important one, and it reduces the dosha and enhances the Shukra and Mutra. Chakshusha Varnabalakrita. It's good for the nourishment of the body. Also, it improves the vision and it improves the voice. Sudhya, it also helps, gives you satisfaction. Trishapaha, Branyaha, it helps in healing of the wound. Tasmat alpantara gunaha kramashah shalayo avaraha. The other varieties of the rice, they may have slight variation in the property, but comparatively they are less effective or less beneficial than the lohitaka, raktashali. ಷಷ್ಠಿಕ ಅಂಗುಕ ಮುಕುಂದಕ ಪೀತಕ ಪ್ರಮೋದಕ ಕಾಕಲಕ ಅಸನಪುಷ್ಪಕ ಮಹಾಷಷ್ಠಿಕ ಚೂರ್ಣ ಚೂರ್ಣ ಕಕುರಕ ಕೇದಾರ ಪ್ರಭೃತಯ ಷಷ್ಠಿಕಾಃ. Among the ಷಷ್ಠಿಕಶಾಲಿ again, the ಷಷ್ಠಿಕಶಾಲಿ is a rice which gets matured in 60 days. You'll have some more varieties, and those varieties are ಷಷ್ಠಿಕ, ಅಂಗುಕ, mukundaka, etc. It's very difficult to point out which are these varieties available now, but and most of these present days nomenclature is based upon certain technical terms like with IT or so on, something code words, and to equate them to the information present in the samhitas is a very laborious task, a very specialized task. I am not able to do that, but I think it could be one of the areas of research in future where the identity of the specific varieties mentioned in Sushruta and the identity of currently available varieties, how they can match together and how they can be compared, that could be a very interesting area of research which could be done. Then these varieties are Rase Pake Madhuraha, Shamanaha, Vatapitayo, Shalinam Trigunisthulyaha, Brahmanaha, Tapashkurlaha. Shastika Shali also has a similar property as that of the Rakta Shali or Shali, and it's a Madhura Vipaka and Vatapitak Shamana, Brahmana, and Kapashukurala. These are the different varieties of the Shastika Shali as such. Shastika Pravarastesha, among all the other varieties of the food, Shastika Shali is considered as again a better one, particularly Kashayanurasu Laghu, Mruduhu, Snigdaha, Tridoshagnaha, Stairekratu, Balavardhanaha, Vipake, Madhuraha, Grahi, Tulyo, Lohitashali Bhi. Shastika Shali is almost equivalent to the Lohitashali, and it's also considered as a Shrestha. Lohitashali is considered to be most superior. Shastikashali is also another of the superior variety which is always preferable. Sheshastu alpantarasaha tasmat shastikah kramasho gunehi. The other varieties, they may be having almost similar properties of shastika alpantara guna. The differences are minimal, but they are avaraha. They are not the same as preferable as that of the shastikashali. कृष्णव्रीहि शालामुख जतुमुख नंदीमुख लावा अक्षक त्वरितक कुक्कुटांड कुक्कुटांडक पारावत पाटल प्रभृतयः व्रीहयः. Among the Vrihidanyas are dicotyledon varieties, or sorry, Vrihi also is monocotyledon seeds. Shali is rice. Other monocotyledon seeds, among the other monocotyledon seeds which are used, the varieties which are used in Sushruta are Krishna Vrihi, etc. Krishna Vrihi, Krishna Tushatandulaha, where the skin is dark in color, black in color. Shalamka Krishna Shuklakara Tandulaha, it's having a blackish tip like shape. These are the descriptions given in Dhalana. Again, as I told you, to point out exactly like which is the food which is now used as such would be quite difficult as such. Then kashaya madhuraः पाके अमधुराः वीर्यतो अहिमाः अल्प अभिषण्यनस्तुल्याः षष्टिकैः बद्धवर्चसः कृष्णव्रीहिः वरस्तेषां कषाय अमृतो लघुः तस्मात् अल्पान्तर्गुणः क्रमशो व्रीहयो अपरे. Among the Vrihi, Krishna Vrihi is considered to be superior. Krishna, something like a blackish variety of the source of the food. Again, quite difficult to point out what is Krishna Vrihi. It's considered as Kashaya and Pake Amadhura. It's not Madhura Virya, Madhura Vipaka, and Ahima, Ushna Virya as such, or Laghu Guna, Alpa Bishandinaha. Otherwise, they are similar to Shashikashari. Then Gandhayam Avanodataha, Sharaya Lagupakinaha. Then properties of the rice also would be varying according to the area where it is cultivated. A Dagdha Avani, where the soil is burnt, we call Suduman, where the soil is burnt. Such a rice which is cultivated in the area where the soil is burnt with the fire is having Laghupaka. Kashaya Baddhavinmutraha Rukshaha Shleshma Apakarshana. They also have Kashaya Rasa and Baddhavinmutra and Shleshma Apakarshana, reduce kapha. Sthalajaha, those which are cultivated in the wild area, where you do not really have more source of water, relatively dry area. Kaphapittagnaha, Kashayaha, Katukarmayaha, Kinchit Siktamaduraha, किञ्चित् सतिक्तमधुराः पवन अनलवर्धनाः. Such rice which is cultivated in a relatively dry area is having kaphavitagna property, kashaya rasa, and katu also anurasa, and they also have slight tikta madhura rasa, and they enhance the agni and vata. Kaidaraha, that's which are cultivated in the field where it's a well irrigated fields where the source of water is quite good. मधुराः वृष्याः बल्याः पित्तनिबर्हणाः ईषत्कषायाः अल्पमलाः गुरवः कफशुक्लः शुक्लः. The Kaidaraha are the food rice which is cultivated in the field. They would have Madhuraguna, Vrishya, Balya, Pitta Nirbharhanaha. ईषत् कषाय अल्पमलाः स्प्लैट् कषाय रस एंड कफशुक्लः. रोप्य अतिरोप्याः लघवः शीघ्रपाकाः गुणोत्तराः अदाहिनो दोषाराः बल्याः मूत्रविवर्धनाः. Ropia and Atiropia are wildly cultivated. You do not really plant the seeds, but the other way, it's widely cultivated variety of the rice. They are Laghu and Shikarpaka Gunottaraha. Of course, all this information will be relatively of less importance in the present day situation where it's quite difficult to get a quality rice. Forget about the information about the source. You get all that varieties. Quite difficult and looks irrelevant in the present day situation, but it's not really irrelevant. We have to appreciate the details to which our ancients have gone into and how the details of the food source were studied in those days. That is a quite important issue, and we need to highlight this whenever there is a need of highlighting the importance of Ayurveda. Now, Shalayaha Chinarudaha, Eruksaha, Te Badhvarchasaha, Tiktaha Kashayaha, Pittagnaha, Laghupakaha, Kapapaha, those rice which is collected by cutting the plant before it gets mature. See, the seeds before it gets mature, as it is practice done. Now the practice is done in the same manner where you cut the plants in the field before it gets mature. They would be rukshaha badhvarchasaha. They would have ruksha guna and also they tend to produce a constipation. Tikta kashaya. There will be tikta anurasa. Pittagnaha lagupakaha kapapaha. विस्तरेण अयमुद्दिष्ट शालिवर्गो हिताहितः. That's iti shali varga. This is about the shali, monocotyledon seeds and the rice as such. Then the next is the kudhanya varga. Now kudhanya, word kudhanya is kutsitah, something which is of inferior quality. In these earlier days, the certain varieties of the seeds were considered as a inferior quality, and very interestingly, now the same they are considered as a Siridhanya. The Siri is a wealth, some source of wealth, and that's this maybe paradoxical situation. Paradoxical situation which we have. In those days, it was considered as kutsi, the inferior quality of the food. Now, that inferior quality of the food is considered as the major source of wealth, and you know this year is considered as year of millets, international year of millets, and the millet food is very highly promoted. Get that lots of publicity material every day now. In the government of India has taken it as a major project asset. Now, the description of Kudhanya in Sushruta is Tadvat Kudhanyam Mudgadi Mashadinam Chokshade. Mudgadi Mashadidanya are the other popular varieties of the seeds which are used. Kudhanya is the Kutsidanya. Kora Dushaka Shamaka Nivara Nivara Shantanu Varaka Uddalaka Priyangu Madhulika Nandimukhi Kuruvinda Gaveduka Sarabaruka Todaparni Mukundaka Venuyava Prabhutaya Kudhanya Visheshaha. The varieties of Kudhanya are now the term used is mallets. They were of different varieties, many varieties of them used, and they were of the Koradushaka Shamak acid. I will come to that detail slightly in the next part. Ushnaha Kashaya Madhuraha Rukshaha Katuvipakinaha Shleshvagnaha बद्धनिस्यन्दाः वातपित्तप्रकोपणाः कषायमधुरस्तेषां शीतः पित्तापः स्मृतः कूद्रवश्च शनिवारः शामाकश्च शशान्तनुः. Among these kudhanyas, in general, they would have Ushnavirya, Kashaya Madhura, Kashaya and Madhurasa, Rukshaguna, Katuvipaka, and among them, Nivara, Shamaka, Shantanu, they are very popularly used in those days. And another important issue is Venuyava. The seeds of the bamboos also are included in the Kudanya in those days. Now, in the present international years of millets, in the present day situation, the varieties of the millets are Kudhanyas or Siridhanyas. Now, of course, we do not use the word Kudhanya, it's the Siridhanyas. There are about 154 varieties of the millets released in India. Actually, this is a major issue. And possibly among the very popular variety of the millets which are now used is a sorghum, pearl millet, little millet, and post. These are the very popular millets now. And to a certain extent, they could be compared to the Nivara, Uddalaka, and Shamaka, Dushaka, or Kodrava, Madhulika, Gaveduka, Sarabuka. The Kannada name of these Nivara is probably Joda, and the Uddalaka is Sajje, Shamaka Sabe, Same, Dushaka Baragu, and Kodava is Haraka, Madhulika is Ragi, and Gaveduka is Navane, and Udalu is Sarabaruka. Probably, these are all the probabilities of the terms. And when you go for the Siridhanyas or the millets now to a market and get these are the varieties which you get as the Siridhanyas or the millets. And we whatever we consider as millets and the millet year, international year of millets is the same. From the Indian culture point of view, millet production of various countries, India is the maximum. India is the major source for the millet production compared to all other countries among the world. Millets are the major source of major strength of the Indian cultivation is the millets, and that's why in 2023 is considered as year of millet, and there is a lot of promotion of the millets throughout the globe. So this is an opportunity to highlight the properties of the millets now. कृष्णाः रक्ताश्च पीताश्च श्वेताश्चैव प्रियङ्गवः यथोत्तरं प्रधानाः स्युः रुक्षाः कपरः स्मृताः. Then Priyangudhanya is one more of the variety of the millets used in that period, and they are Krishnaha Raktaha. Either they could be of Krishna Raktavarna or Pitavarna, Shweta, and they are Rukshaha Kaparaha. Madhuri, Madhura Shita, Snigdha, Nandi Mukhi Tada. The properties of Madhuri probably the Ragi, is Madhuraha Shitaha. Madhura Rasa, Shita Virya, and Snigdha Guna. Nandi Mukhi also would be similar property, but Vishoshi Tatra Bhuishtam, Varukaha, Samukundakaha. Varuka and Mukundaka varieties are Vishoshi. Venuyavaha, the seeds of the bamboo are Rukshaha Jeha, Viryosnaha, Katupaknaha, Badhamutraha, Kaparaha, Kashayaha, Vatakopanaha. Mudga Yavana Mudga Vanamudgaka, Kalaya, Magusthaka, Masura, then Mangalya, Chanaka, Satina, Triputaka, Harenu, Adaki, Prabhutaya, Vaidaraha, dicotyledon seeds, they are mainly in those days are Mudgavana Mudga, etc. Mudga is in the green land. We'll come to that, each of them. The general properties of the dicotyledons are Kashaya Mudhuraha Shitaha, Katupakaha, Mankaraha, Badhamutra Prishashta, Pitta Shleshmaharaha Tata. In general, the dicotyledons are Kashaya Mudhurasa, Shitavirya, Katupaka, and they enhance the water and they induce constipation and pitta shleshmara reduce the pitta kapha. Natyartam matara teshu mudgaha drishti prasadanaha pradhanaha haritaha tatra vanyaha mudga samaha smutaha. Mudga, the green gram, is the shrestha among these and is not enhance, it doesn't enhance the vata and it's also the important one and majority of the other green varieties of the seeds would have the same property also of mudga. Now, Mudga, the Vigna radiata, the Dhanvantari Nigantu gives you more description about the Mudga, the variety, and you get the nutrition value of these seeds now as such. The nutrition value of the green gram you can it contains more of comparatively more of energy 347 calories per 100 grams and it's also a better source for the carbohydrates as well as protein is the major content there and hence the green gram is considered as one of the important source of the food even it is rich in minerals also. Now, what Dhanvantari Nigamtu says about the Mugga is Vasantaha Krishna Muggasta, Sharadaha Hritasta, Mugganam Namtastoktaha Supershreshtaha Rasotamaha. Varieties of the Mugga, green gram. Again, Vasantaha, which grows in Vasantaratu, Krishna Mugga, that will where it will be blackish in color, those which grow in Sharad Rutu, Haritaha, which is perfectly green, and so on. So, even now in the market, you get some varieties of these green gram, and the other varieties also called as Mugga, Kilata, Mangalya, Harita, Sharadopeva. Pitta Praseko, Vasuko, Madhava, Pravaro, Asitaha. These are the synonyms of the Mugga. The guna of Mudga mentioned in Dhanvantari Nikonde is Mudgaha, Rukshaha, Laguhu, Grahi, Kapapitahara, Himaha, Swaduhu, Alpanilo, Netriyaha, Vanyo, Apeta, Gunaha, Smita. Vanya Mudga is the wild grown variety of the green gram is also having the similar property. Harita Pravaras Tesham. The green variety is the more important. Krishna Mudga is the comparatively Varakaha, compared to lesser Rajamugga, what we call as Avare, that's the Khandak, Rajamugga and Khandak are also the other varieties. Now, Vanamugga is Vigna econitifolia, प्रधान हरितास्तुत्र वन्याः मुद्गसमास्कृताः मकुस्तकाः प्रेमिकराः कलायाः प्रचुरानिलाः. The other varieties of the Vanyamudga are known. Now, Vanyamudga or Vigna econitifolia is what we call as avare, and there you have the nutrition value. The nutrition value of this also is almost similar to that of the green gram. And it also has many minerals and energy source also is quite good. And now one of the popular source of the nourishment now. Then Kalaya is the Pisum sativum, the what we call as Togari. Kalaya Prachuranilaha, Hare Namaha Satinashta Vijnayaha Badhvarchasaha. The Kalaya Dhanya is the Togari or Arhar as such that produces Prachuranilaha, enhances the vata, and Harenu and Satina Dhanya. These are the other varieties of the same Kalaya. In the if you go into the market, you get these varieties. Your Togari or Arhar Dhanya would be yellowish, golden yellow colored one, and somewhat brownish colored one, and then there is a relatively dark reddish colored one. Probably these are the varieties Harenu and Satin Dhanya. Now, Kalaya in Dhanvantari Nigantu, the description of Kalaya is Mandajanakaha, Harenuhu, Satinakaha, Trasanaha, Nalakah, Kanti, Harenuhu, Vartulasmutaha. These are the different synonyms of the Kalaya mentioned in Dhanvantari Nigantu. And the Guna are Shitalaha, Grahi, Kapapitaraha, Lagu, Vipake, Madhuraha, Rukshaha, Vatalaha, Bhakshana Priyaha. It enhances the taste. The energy value and the nourishment as it is studied now. Now, the information which we get would be this is a comparison. See, from Ayurvedic point of view, the impact is studied. The physiological impact is studied in the form of the impact of that substance over the dosha or physical aspects as well as psychological aspects. Maybe their disease modifying effect. Whereas in the present day's approach, these are studied only in the form of the energy, protein content, carbohydrate content, or maybe the mineral content. Now, that gives a total contrast. Now, the issue is a human being would be responding differently to different sources. A person who responds, or a person responds to these aspects of the food. Same maybe, give the example the other way. Like suppose rice, the feeling or impact on the body of rice when I eat and somebody else eat, there would be difference. That individual difference can be made out only when it's looked at with the view of that dosha and prakriti and so on. Whereas from the present day's point of view, when you look at the in terms of the summary of this a bunch of chemicals, burden of chemicals, is not giving you the same feeling. That's all the point. Masura Dhanya also is a variety of the toguri. The Masuraha Dvividaha, Krishnaha Pandurashta. The Erwan lens is the Masura Dhanya. And they are Vipake Masuraha Proktaha Masuraha Bhattvarchasa. Rite Mudga Masurabhyam Anyetu Adnana Karakaha. Among that Mudga Masura is variety. Other than that, all the Masuras they would be Adnana Karakaha. They produce a distension. Now, the Madhuraha, Supyaha, Pruthavaha, Pittabeshajam, Harenaha, Satinascha, Chanakaha, Karalakaha. These are the synonyms of the Masura Dhanya mentioned in the Samhita, and it's considered as Madhuraha, Shitaha, Sangrahi, Kapapitaha, Vata Amayakarasteva, Mutrakichaharaha Laghu. It enhances the water, that's what's mentioned in the Dhanutanikanto. The chemical constitution or whatever the nutritional information which we get about the Masur Dhanya now is here I just put it that as a reference point of view. I don't give much importance to that part. Adhaka is a Catanus cajon, that's the Chana Bengal gram variety. Adaki Kavamitani, Nati Vata Prokopani, Vatalaha, Shitamaduraha, Sakashayaha, Virukshanaha, Kapa Shonita Pitagnaha, Chanakaha, Punstanashanaha, Sayeva Ghatasanyuktaha, Tridosha Shamanaha, Param. Chanaka and Adaka, these are the two varieties of the Bengal gram. Chanaka is the Bengal gram with the more brown, dark brown color. Adaka is what we call as Afghan kadle, or which is generally sourced from Afghan area as such, which is having more lighter color and softer. Now, Adaka is Kapavitagni, not Vata Prakopani. It doesn't enhance the Vata, and it produces a Rukshanaha. Chanakaha, the other variety of the kadle, which is also called as horse gram now, is Kumstanashanaha. And Grita Sanyuktaha Tridoshishamanaha. Only when you add Grita, it becomes Tridoshanashana. Now, in Dhanutanikanto, the synonyms of Adaka are Adaki, Tuvari, Tulya, Karavira, Bhujatata, Vrtapita, Pita Pushpa, Shweta, Rakta, Asita, Tridha. Three varieties of the Bengal gram are described there. Rakta, Asita, and Shweta. White, red, and black. आडकी कपटितग्नि किंचित मारुतकोपरि कषायाः स्वादुसंग्राही कटुपाकहिमालघु मेदश्लेष्म अस्त्रपित्तेषु हिताः लेप अपसेकयोः used for the other source lepa as well as kapaja vyadhi, raktapitta, etc. Of course, the nutrition value of the chana or adaka is mentioned over here. I don't, again, as I told you, I don't give much importance to that, but we have to be aware of this information. Then Triputaka is laterous seeds. Laterous seeds also were used as source of food in those days, and now of course laterous is used as a adulterant in Arhardanya. And Kalaya Khandika Jneha, Tripudha, Shudra Khandika, Kalayo, Madhurastikta, Sakashaya, Virukshana, Kavitara Shita, Sangrahi, Pratiranalaha. Tad Tripuragastesham Shakam Pitta Balasajita. These are the properties of laterous seeds. Lazarus seeds, the nutritional facts of them also are used. Comparatively, it has a lesser calorie, and particularly calories from fat is relatively zero, and hence it is considered to be good for the weight reduction. But Lazarus also has many toxic substances, and toxic effects are also known. ऋते मुद्गमसूराभ्याम् अन्ये तु आध्मानकारकः कारकाः. Other than that, mudga and masura, others produce adhana, distension of the abdomen. The next is about the masha. We will continue with this in the next session. Today the time is up, so we will continue from this point. If there are any questions, I will try to answer and then conclude today. Right, there are no questions. Fine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.